welcome. It's such a pleasure to have Nikki Anarado as my special guest. She's a dating preparation coach. And I met her at Power at the Podium. Very dynamic, has so much information, and it's just very unique in what you have to offer. So welcome, Nikki.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's get started. Now, tell me briefly a little bit about you and your business.
But as you mentioned, I'm a dating preparation coach. The name of my business and program is Prepare to be Pursued, and I help busy professional women re-enter the dating world by improving their clarity and confidence as they go out there and try to figure out the path to getting into healthy relationships. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. The next, how does sleep contribute to a woman's romantic life?
That is a really, really great question. I don't think that women think enough about the amount of sleep that they get and the quality of sleep that they get. And the work that I do, a huge part of it is about self-care. And I will consider sleep being part of self-care. And what I offer is an 8-week program, and one of those weeks is committed to taking care of ourselves. That builds confidence. It builds a sense of self-esteem. When we feel like we've done what we can to really take care of ourselves. Sleep should absolutely not be downplayed. It's extremely important. It contributes to how we show up in the world. Would you agree? I mean, lack of sleep makes you, it wears on your face. You can't hide that you're exhausted. And it's just something that I hope that women consider on a very regular basis, especially when the intent is to put their best foot forward if they're considering dating or wanting to attract the opposite sex. I mean, being well rested is a really, really important part of that.
That is so true. So thank you for that. Okay, next question. As a busy professional who wears many hats, how important is sleep to you?
Oh, to me personally, oh my God, it's so important. So, just talk in general, like being general, but for me specifically, I need at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep in order to function. I do wear a lot of hats. I'm a single mom. I work a full-time job, and I do my business coaching, and I do some freelance work on the side for proposal development. So it's a lot on my plate, but it can all be done. Figuring out ways to be more efficient with time. But being that creative, trying to figure out ways to be efficient, it requires my brain to work. And my brain won't work if I don't get enough sleep, And also for me, I'm extremely, extremely hypersensitive to caffeine. So unlike a lot of people, I'm not able to depend on caffeine to give me that, added boost. So I really, really need sleep to make sure that I'm able to function during the day. I take it very seriously.
Yes. What I noticed is that you learn a balance. Even though you have your plate and you're a professional, you have so many things that go on, which is great. It's all about balance, and it's great to see that you have that in check. And of course, it's something that we all have to work on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah. And there's some days where I'm totally off, and I'm sure you can relate to that too, where it's just like today was not a balanced day. And then other days, I have to be clear that I have to recoup from an unbalanced day, especially for me as an introvert. Being in social environments for long periods of time, I know that I have to schedule in time for me to just decompress and have me time. That's, again, part of self-care. And if that means me laying around sleeping all day, that's what I got to do. Don't call me. Don't expect an email back. That's Nikki's relax time. And it's extremely, extremely important. So, yeah.
And I really have to add to that. The same for me. Being an introvert, we need that energy. We need that peace.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something in order to function, and that's
Yes.
so crucial. It's like our guiding force. And then
Yeah.
if not, it's almost like we crash. And
Yes.
so that's important. So I definitely agree. Yes.
It is very important. And I mean, this is really my passion because most of the women that I attract from our program are introverts and they want to understand how to function in social environments if they don't really have great experience with online dating. They want to find out how to attract and keep the attention of men in social environments, which is totally cool. We can definitely work on that. But part of that is understanding the qualities of introverts. You know what I mean? And it's okay for us to need those rest days for that extra sleep, that being by myself, to not feel ashamed about that. If extroverts don't understand, they don't have to understand. Just have confidence in your own needs. So,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree with that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do you say to single women who are convinced that they can't get more than 4 hours of sleep a night?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So this comes up quite a bit for women that have small children, which
Mm.
I totally understand. My daughter just graduated from high school. She's 18, so she's no longer a little one anymore. But I remember those days when she was,
Mhm.
and it's very, very difficult to just have a blanket statement like everybody needs to get 10 hours sleep. Sometimes it's just not practical. There are women out there that not only work a full-time job with little ones, but they're also in school. So it's just, I totally get it. I know that there are certain points of or phases of one's life where having that consistent sleep, it's just not practical. However, where there's a will, there's a way. Um, that kind of ties into the whole idea of sometimes we as women put ourselves last on the totem pole. We can get creative for our work. We can bend over backwards for our boss. We can figure some stuff out. We can stretch $1 out of 15 cents. We can figure out a meal from 2 potato chips and a piece of coleslaw. Like we gonna figure something out. We're gonna make a sandwich and some other stuff. So, I mean, we had that creative nature about us. That's what makes us beautiful as women. But if we commit that same level of creativity to our self-care and finding time at a no time to get some sleep, then you'll be surprised how much more rest you can fit into your day.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have a question just came up to mind. Have you
Sure.
ever one of yours that might have went on a date or was meeting with someone and they was exhausted or tired,
Yeah.
and they kind of said, like how did the date go because they was tired and didn't get enough sleep?
Yeah, I mean that happens often. I have different types of women that I have, conversations with and work with. Some of them are very like disengaged and have low expectations from dating because of their experiences.
Oh,
Okay. So it might take them time to actually prepare.
right.
So they're telling me stories of their past experiences, and they're saying, you know what, I wasn't really prepared for that. I just went, and I was just exhausted and not really engaged, and saying that the guy was really boring and everything like that. But my feeling about boring dates is it takes 2 people to be boring on a date.
Yes.
So if you're showing up or we're showing up tired, exhausted, have nothing to offer because we're spent, then it can't be all put on the other person across from the table because they can probably likely pick up on those vibes, and they're just like, why did she even show up? So it's okay to cancel dates or reschedule dates if you're not up to it. I've done it all the time. There's no need to waste your time and the other person's time. It's okay to be exhausted. Again, that goes back to self-care. You have to put yourself first.
Yes.
So.
That is true. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Other question: what are some tips to leave our listening audience with regard to preparing to be pursued and how they can reach you?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Oh, okay, sure. What are some tips to leave our listening audience
Oh,
with regard to preparing to be pursued and how they can reach you.
oh, okay. Yes. So some general tips. I think it might depend on the woman and kind of where she is in her dating path. I typically work with women who aren't actively dating. Some have actively dated and just they've kind of checked out from the process. So for those that are actively dating, I will first say that it's important to be honest about what it is you desire long term. That's the first thing. And like any goal, because you have to start to think about your future romantic life as a goal. You have to. And like any other goal, the likelihood of being successful in that goal is dependent on the steps that an individual is willing to take. First, the desire for them to even consider that there are steps, be diligent in those steps, understand them, accept them, work towards them, and then, achieve small milestones towards that goal. Unfortunately, some women have that understanding intuitively, and this is why they just go ahead and get things done in that area of their life and kind of move forward in that area of their life with limited fear, because they have a sense of that. Either they were taught or it's just natural to them. It kind of is what it is. I know it wasn't natural to me. That's why I created a program, because I definitely needed that change of mindset, and it took me 6 years to develop it for myself. And we don't got time for that. We all got 6 years to be trying to figure stuff out and going through this and that. And there's no need for that. So, so understand that there's a process. I think is the most important thing for those that have checked out of the dating process. I mean, it's not insurmountable. There's hope. There are things that could be done differently that would instantly get you to results. After speaking engagements, I've had women I've followed up with, and they said, man, just a few things that you shared with me, I put it into practice, and it's changed my life. And it's just small things like that make a huge difference. But for those that want a 180 in their life, that's where, working with me can be extremely helpful. So that's the first one. Mm-hmm. For women that are actively dating, if you're not getting the results that you would like, it's important to understand that, yes, there's some jerks out there. Yes, there's a whole bunch of nonsense going on out there. I just heard a story. It's terrible, the stories that I'm hearing. Absolutely terrible. I just literally, no lie, this week heard a story of my coworker's friend. I hope it wasn't my coworker. She just told me it was her friend. But my coworker's friend went on a date, first date, online date. Coincidentally, they had mutual friends from her job. So I guess she felt some level of comfort with this guy. Went on the first date. They had a great time. They were out in public somewhere. After the date, again, they had a great time. After the date, she looks into her phone and sees a transaction for $1,000 to this guy through Cash App.
Oh, my.
This is a true story. I just heard this 2 days ago. I'm like, this is what's happening out here. This is what's happening. Of course, she denied it. She's getting her lawyer involved. I did not want to hear any more of that story, because it's crazy. So the things that yes, there are jerks out there. Yes, there are scammers out there. Yes, there are men out there that only want one thing. It's very true. All of that is true. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's a rosy, great situation. It's not. It's scary. However, not blaming the victim. That's absolutely not what I'm doing. However, to combat that fear, the only way to combat fear and confusion is through clarity. Clarity only comes from education. That's it. And unfortunately, there's not enough education out there on how to have a different experience. We're all talking about how terrible this is. Don't waste your time on this. Don't waste your time on that, which is great. Those messages are very important for women that are, that need to retract from experiencing the same thing over and over again. Get it? But what is going to replace that? Because after you cut this person off, cut that person off, cut that person off, all you become is good at cutting people off.
Right, yeah.
And then what's left? What are you going to replace that with?
Yeah.
If there's no change in mindset, we're all going to just attract the same thing. So that mindset shift is extremely important, and that comes through education and knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll offer women that are out there actively dating, experiencing the same yucky situations, is understanding that there might be some opportunity to learn something different.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I will give you an opportunity to tell us how to reach you, but I wanted to say something.
Sure.
Something you said that was really vital is as far as the mindset. And I have found that until you change yourself, your situation is not going to change, whether it's a current situation or your future situation. So I noticed that seemed to be the beginning of it, is to change your mind and to be open-minded, regardless of what has happened in the past. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you pointed that out, because that's important. It's extremely important. And to your point, yes, it is the very beginning of the program. It's the very beginning of the process. And it takes women years sometimes to get to the point where they're willing to even accept that there's a change of mindset required. First, you have to accept that, and then you have to be willing to do what it will take to go through the process. Can't say that it's easy. Can't say that. Won't promise that. But it's life-changing, and it's the only way to have a different result. So, yes, week 1 is shaping effective beliefs from the 8-week program that I shared with you. And so, yes, to your point, shaping effective beliefs is all about mindset. All right, we're identifying the connection killers, like from the very jump. You want to understand what it is about the current mindset that is making everything end like this. You know what I mean? Everything got to be like this all the time, But how does that equal a loving, lasting relationship? It is not ever going to be a scenario where Mr. Right comes in the door and sweeps you off your feet.
Right, that's true.
It does not work that way. It's a two-way street, and both people have to have the tools to first connect, and then have the appropriate tools to maintain that connection.
Right.
So that's all that is discussed in week 1. I could go through each one of them so that the viewers understand the process.
Okay.
Right after that, in week 2, is refining your future, and that's kind of what we talked about a little bit already, where you design your future your future relationship, your future lifestyle. It's important to have a sense of what your end goal is, long-term goal. Even if you don't feel like you trying to make that happen in 6 months, it's all good. If you don't feel like you're ready, or you're not trying to, put that kind of pressure on yourself, no problem at all. It makes total sense to be realistic. Push it off as far as you need to push it off. No problem. But you need to have a goal. You need to have something in mind so that your behaviors and what you're committing yourself to today lines up with that goal. Right. That's why it's important. Right. So, yes, that's part of it. With that week 3 is rediscovering your allure. So this is where we talked about the self-care. So there's self-esteem, self-image, self-worth, self-love, right? All those things, people kind of use those terms interchangeably. And this week we get very clear about the distinction to make sure that we're aware of each of them and how we kind of measure ourselves in it. All of those things contribute to our day-to-day confidence. And confidence and clarity are extremely key in this process. I wouldn't recommend any woman put herself in a vulnerable situation without having a sense of confidence and clarity about who she is, how she's showing up, and what she needs to do to get the results that she wants. If a woman doesn't understand those things, please don't date. Don't date, because it won't lead to good results. Okay? Week 3. I'm sorry, 4. We're on 4. Standards and boundaries. Woo! That's like that meat. We get into the meat now. And I know a lot of ladies love to say, you know, these are my standards. I'm not going to date nobody less than this standard, and that's great. But sometimes we need to really assess our standards first to make sure that we even abiding by them, because sometimes we say one thing, but behind closed door, nobody looking, we just like, you know, covering up. Don't nobody know what we're doing in this phone, you know, who we're texting, who we're video chatting with that we swore off 2 years ago, you know. So just being honest with yourself and understanding the boundaries and standards need to be realistic, right? And that you're not cheating on yourself. You know what I'm saying? We expect everybody else to honor us and be faithful to us, and a lot of times we set ourselves up, say we're going to do something and don't do it. So, so that's week 4. So we get into all of that. Week 5 is attracting bees with honey. So we kind of use things that we've learned about ourselves from rediscovering our allure, you know, getting our confidence up and things like that, and then understand how to use those allure factors, I call them, to attract quality men. You know, where to find them, how to present yourself, the small things that we can do to get someone's attention so that we understand how to turn it on and off. You don't always have to be on. Don't feel that pressure. But if you see someone that you're interested in, you're picking up his whole vibe, you think that y'all can actually have a connection, turn it on. And it's not what you think. It's not like you need to be the extrovert in the room and take over the room and stand on tables and, you know what I'm saying, do splits in the middle of the dance floor. It's not that serious. You know, you know, every woman is entitled to have her own attraction style, her own allure factors, just her own identity in that space. Every woman is sexy. Every single woman that's breathing right now is sexy because it's up here. It's not as much physical as we always say. That's it. That's quick and easy, and that's just as fast as it's going to come and go for men. It's not that deep. But if you get a man here and say some stuff that's just like, did she really say that? It's extremely alluring, and they won't even understand why they're so attracted to you. So understanding those key things about yourself, each individual woman, and knowing how to turn that thing on and off to get consistent results is nothing more powerful than that. That's gold. That's gold. So week 6 is where we get into after you've attracted a guy and after you've turned conversation into courtship. So you're kind of already getting, you know, close to a guy, talking to him, dating, whatever the case is. Week 6, at that point, this is where we'll talk about what I call romantic negotiation. All right. So why this is important is, you know, I'm kind of in sales. I'm in business development. I write proposals for a living. I've been doing it for several years. So proposals is not very different from romantic proposals. It's really not. It's all this very similar process. It's 2 entities. One wants something, and the other one's trying to, you know, is trying to offer it, but not sure if they, you know what I mean, if it's a good match. All right? So it's not very different from male and female relationships. There's a part of it where the contract needs to be negotiated. And we keep thinking that the only time that negotiations take place is when you're deep in a relationship or during a, what is that document called when you get married and you want to kind of like split your assets before you get married? What is it called? The prenup.
Oh, right, yeah.
Exactly. We keep thinking that that's the only opportunity to think this way, but no, it's from the very first moment. Each individual has their own standards, or should, their own standards and their own boundaries. And so from day one, it's all about negotiation, whether you realize it or not. And the key is, because men, they know this. That's why they're just naturally good at negotiation versus women, unfortunately. That's why they get paid more, because they're better at negotiation. They're just naturally better at it.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know why, but it just is what it is. So we have to understand how to stick to our, what we think is important, and then also it builds the respect that the men have for us as well. Week 7 is where we talk about emotional authority, because this is, also with romantic negotiation and when you're dating and courting, all that good stuff. Look, things start to get very complicated when emotions are involved, especially for women who haven't been in a deep relationship for many years. I can attest to that. I was single for about 13 years, and I had emotional feelings flying all over the place for this guy, that guy, but I wasn't disciplined in it, and I didn't understand how my role fit in the relationships that I had. They weren't deeply committed relationships, but even with that, I just didn't understand my own power in it. Emotional authority. The reason why I call it that is that we as women have way more power in this whole dating thing than we give ourselves credit to. And we have to understand that. We have to have control over our emotions and understand that we have limited control of the other person. And through that's through our vulnerability and understanding why it's important to understand how to open back up. Many of the women I work with admit to being guarded and have issues with vulnerability, which is understandable if you've been hurt. I've been there. I was shut down emotionally for years. I get it. However, how can one connect with another without that ability to be open? And then there are women on the other side that can't help but to be open, very open, but they find themselves getting taken advantage of repeatedly. So just understanding how to assess someone to know when it's safe is extremely important. Number 8 is commitment mastery. All right, so this week is where the focus will be on how to basically close the deal. How you influence his decision, how you choose as a woman with confidence. Because a lot of times, the women that I talk to, they're just like, man, yeah, I don't have no problem getting dates. Yeah, I don't got no problem getting a husband. I don't got no problem getting in a relationship. But I'm settling. I've settled the last 5 times. And they want that last time to be the last. They're tired of settling. They're tired of giving up their desire for something that fits their standard. So it's not all about getting him to commit to you. It's more of like making sure who you're spending time with is a right fit, and it's worth the effort of being committed. So that's the 8-week program in a nutshell, girl.
I truly appreciate you sharing all that great information. And the most important thing is, how can people get in contact with you so they can sign up for your 8-week program?
Oh, yes. So absolutely. I can be found on preparedtobepursued.com. That's all one word. And then also my email address is info@preparedtobepursued.com. So I also have a phone number set up for people to call in. It's 443-240-8029. Okay? And if somebody text the word interested to that cell phone number, they'll get a discount on the phone.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And it has been really informative and enlightening, and I'm sure that many women and also men who might have, a sister or even a mother who might be dating, or a daughter who is grown, can definitely use the information that you have and join your 8-week program. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
It's not right. Okay, so we have a great night.
All right, you do the same.
Okay,
Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. I wanted to begin on why I decided to start a free sleep podcast. The reason why that I decided to is because as an entrepreneur for many, many years, it is in my DNA that I want to give back. I know how it is to struggle and try to get your name out there. So this is my way of giving back and paying it forward by doing free interviews where you can have exposure for your business. So I will begin. Now, I am searching to interview entrepreneurs on my free podcast show. The best way to do that is to send me an email. And my email address is donettaDmorin@gmail.com, which is DONATTA.D.MOORING@gmail.com. In the subject line, I would appreciate it if you can put Sleep Podcast. And I would send you a link to my calendar where we can either schedule a 15-minute pre-interview or a 30-minute interview. So I wanted to let you know what I have to offer. I educate tired entrepreneurs and individuals how to become mindful, gain energy, and become more productive to get the quality sleep needed to grow your business. I am Donetta D. Mooring, certified sleep science coach, certified holistic life coach, certified wellness coach. I am an author and I am a national editor for the National Black Unity News. The best way to reach me is through my website, which is donettadmooring.com. Now, I also created the Simple Sleep Solution program that teaches you how to relax, eliminate, and detox to begin to heal from the inside out. Ask me about my affiliate program where you can make money while you sleep. Thank you.